and be obstinate about defending what their base wants and not actually getting things done. And not to apologize for any of the presidents who are issuing executive orders to get stuff done, but that problem in part was created by gerrymandering in 2000 and then again in 2010. But we'll come back to covering a bit of that and more at the Free People Show, freepeopleshow.com, back in 2 minutes. Would you like to experience being one of the free people who produce their own meat and eggs? PurelyPoultry.com has the chickens and supplies you need to raise poultry. Would you like pets who produce eggs you can barter with? If you get really good at this, you can go be a judge at the county fair and decide which chickens and ducks and geese and turkeys are the best and biggest, which ones are roasters, which ones are fryers,
which ones are
performers, all those different things. You can really get into poultry. It's very cool. Would you like a swan on your pond to make your home more attractive? How about some pheasants and quail in your woods to shoot or just enjoy? Why weren't there any pheasants at the Shawano County Fair, do you
That's
suppose?
a really good question.
Maybe they don't.
They're beautiful animals.
Yeah, they're gorgeous. If so, check out purelypoultry.com.
Burger House 41 is open at 1860 West Mason Street in Green Bay. You're invited to indulge in one of life's simplest pleasures, a great burger. We're grilling up 15 fresh signature burgers and have over 30 craft beers for the perfect pairing. Experience Wisconsin's best flavors, including white cheddar cheese curds, a variety of specialty sandwiches, milkshakes, and gourmet frozen custard. Burger House 41 at 1860 West Mason is open at 11 a.m. daily. Taste Wisconsin, taste amazing.
6%? 7%? That's a lot of money. I might as well just do it myself. Well, that might be true, if a lot of that money you're paying a real estate broker is going toward outdated methods, unnecessary fancy offices, and overpaying executives for a lifetime of service. But you don't need to go that route. Silver Compass Realty is a full-service real estate brokerage serving all of South Central Wisconsin, and the commission is negotiable. Silver Compass will explain exactly what they're going to do to help you buy or sell a home, how that will help you reach your goals, and stand right beside you every step of the way. They want to be your broker, your expert, even when you're not in the middle of a transaction. Silver Compass Realty, helping you find your way home. Contact them today at silvercompassrealty.com or call 608-361-8608. Silver Compass Realty, helping you find your way home. Welcome back to the Free People Show, episode 36. Tonight we're exploring, among other things, where the right, the left, and the middle are right now. We're going to get to a point about this. This isn't just like, what do we think about stuff? There's a point to the end. You'll have to stick around to the end of the show, though, to find out. Or near last segment, we'll cover
wrap it all up.
The punchline,
neat little bow.
The climax of the story, so to speak. But I was remiss in thanking Scout the Show Dog at the beginning of the show, so now I think she's calmed down. So thanks, Scout the Show Dog. It was a she, by the way. So before the break, Patrick was talking about conservative ideas, and I guess, I don't know if this is where you were heading with this, but the idea that there's a right and that there's a conservative and that there's a Republican, those aren't all the same thing.
Well, and that's one of the questions that I'm kind of asking here is, what ideas? Because there's two ways that you can appeal to people politically. You can appeal to them rationally. You can have ideas and say, here's my ideas. Here's why I think my ideas would work. And try to persuade people based on the strength of your arguments and your principles and your ideas. That's the rational approach. The irrational approach is to base your appeal 100% on emotion and fear and jealousy and not to really to discuss ideas in any kind of serious way, but to demonize your opponents, to make people want to vote against the other side rather than vote for you, to shift away from ideas towards emotional concepts. And when I look at the Republican Party right now, I think the problem is the ideas that they had at one point were good ideas. A lot of libertarian ideas like limited government and not engaging in nation building, but they, and when they get into power, they don't work on those ideas.
But isn't part of the problem that the appealing to emotion works better? It makes people vote more, and
it's
really
easier.
It's become, and I don't know to what extent it ever was about ideas. I mean, as you mentioned, ideas were important. They were what were on paper. They were what were on the platform, etc. But I don't know historically. Maybe I'm sure you know better than I do. Historically, wasn't there always a sort of appealing to the scare tactics, all that sort of thing? And now they're not trying to hide it anymore.
All the way back.
It's almost like the idea of a platform. Who knows what's on the Republican platform?
The days of Washington and Jefferson and Adams and.
Does the GOP have a platform?
Well, they do.
I don't. I mean,
does anybody?
Does anyone know what it is?
Does anybody care?
I mean, people assume that Republicans are against abortion, which it probably holds more than
that is one issue
Democrats are,
that they're probably somewhat consistent
but is it,
on.
Well, yeah, but what else? I mean,
that's an easy one to be consistent on because you're not going to change anything. You can say you're against it.
Well, yeah, and that's
there's no opportunity to really do anything about it.
The legacy of George Bush 43 was that he supposedly appealed. I mean, he did appeal to a lot of people who were against abortion and had this public stance against it, knowing that he couldn't do anything about it. But in those instances when he was governor of Texas, he appointed pro-abortion judges,
right?
Because that was politically expedient for him at the time.
But let's not forget that for a long time, the Republicans and conservatives pitched themselves as the party and as the group of ideas. Remember the Contract for America that Newt Gingrich did back in '94. That was very successful.
And it had some substance to it.
It had some substance to it, yeah. And they've tried to repeat that over the years, but it's increasingly become more
posturing, more emotional,
less relevant because a lot of those ideas were repudiated in this last election. Trump was the guy who was promising to spend billions of dollars on infrastructure. That's not limited government. No. This whole anti-immigration thing is largely based on fear and emotion. There's plenty of other areas that Trump tapped into that were not idea-based but were fear and emotionally based.
And that
seems to be what the Republican base wants right now.
Well, and that even brings to the forefront whatever connection he has with the alt-right, whether it's people have varying opinions about that, but whatever connection there is, his purveying of fear and envy and distrust brought that out. It made people recognize that element was being drawn to his side of it. It probably always was.
It made people comfortable. People were like, "Oh, great! Now I can say what I really feel."
Some people comfortable.
I think that was
a lot of people
significant part of his voting base.
But he's excited his base. Those
he made
people go out and vote.
It easy for them to say the things that they felt constrained from saying previously. Mm-hmm. But I'll give you another example. Who of all the Republicans that we can name that are well known, who is more of an idea man than Paul Ryan? Paul Ryan is the idea man personified, or he was.
I think so too. And I remember watching him in 2010 on whatever committee that was, fighting against Obamacare when that was when that was in committee, and having a lot of admiration for the guy. Now, all of us in the room anyway, Republicans and Libertarians are certainly against Obamacare, certainly against even what Republicans had done before, and we're kind of behind Paul Ryan and watching him argue and argue and argue very eloquently with facts, with policies, with evidence.
He's a classic
it was impressive.
Policy wonk.
But
now he's one of the most reviled by Republicans, one of the most reviled figures in the Republican Party by other Republicans.
In Wisconsin, even.
Even in Wisconsin, because he's soft. Because he's a wimp. Because he's a sellout.
And he's become hyper-partisan.
Why? Because he's willing to talk to the other side. He's willing to engage the other side. And he's willing to compromise in the name of, getting things done. And, sadly, that is the state of the Republican Party. And I think to some degree that's also the state of the conservative movement, because the handful of real conservatives that are out there are either intimidated against speaking out against Trump and his base in the party, or in some cases have been just co-opted by them.
And drowned out.
And not drowned out. Some of them have actually kind of gone along with the program. They're signing on. So what you have now is a Republican Party that can't get anything done because it's divided between fairly principled conservatives, the so-called Freedom Caucus, who, whatever you may say about them, they are relatively principled.
Well, they're a lot more traditional Republican, almost libertarian than the rest of the party, certainly.
Yeah, and against a much larger group of rhinos or moderate Republicans or outright Trumpsters, who, and I think it's that coalition of Trumpsters and rhinos, because really that's what Trump is. He's a rhino all the way.
Yeah, totally.
He's actually a Democrat. He's not a Republican in any way, shape, or form.
Well, he's not a small government guy.
No.
I mean, as a matter of principle, anyway.
Right. So that's why you had this thing where you had a whole lot of Republicans who really didn't want to get rid of Obamacare.
Well, clearly.
Now, they ran for
re-election. They were afraid to because there are people in their district, Republicans in their district, who are like, on insurance.
Right.
Who felt it was their entitlement. They felt that health care is a right. We know that's not a right.
And we've talked before about the expansion of Medicare in some of these Republican states where the Republican governors and the Republican congressmen...
or Medicare Part D back in Bush 43.
You think you're going to take that away from old people now? That's not a chance in hell of that.
Nobody has an idea that before how things got provided. This is education, for example. You and I brought up, and other people have brought up, the Federal Department of Education founded in 1980. And education has steadily gotten worse since there's been a federal, let alone the expense of it. People don't remember back to before the government did things, how things got done and how well they got done. That's a hard sell.
Right.
And healthcare's another
5
example.
years ago. 5 years ago was a long time for a lot of people.
Just to think, to feel the slightest bit less safe at whatever cost. I mean, that's really what's being preyed on.
Or to have the illusion of safety provided to them.
And suspending their disbelief about how unsafe it is to trust yourself to the government. Perfect example is Hurricane Harvey. That was a situation that, as we pointed out last week, was the danger. I mean, the government wasn't involved specifically in creating the storm and it being guided to the east coast of Texas. However, the fact that so many people live in such a dangerous area and such low-lying land is partially because the federal government gives subsidies for flood insurance to people who live there, makes it easier. And, of course, that skews towards people who have less money. So there's people that
people that are affected by it, but I guarantee you there's probably a lot of Republicans down there representing some of those areas.
So what are they going to say? They're going to say, we're going to make sure you get paid out on these claims. We're going to make sure that your insurance gets cheaper. If you lost everything, government's going to come in here and make it all better for you because I'm a Republican and I represent you and you need to get your money from... They don't go so far as to say the 1%, but what they're saying is that government is some unending supply of money and help, which totally is disconnected from the fact that that money comes out of our pockets, out of people's pockets, out of those same people's pockets. That's where the big disconnect is. There are people that pay a lot of taxes, working people, small business owners, that still back Republicans in Congress and for president and in the Senate, not putting together the 2 + 2 equation of this money is leaving my pocket rapidly, leaving out of my paycheck, out of my bottom line, out of whatever, and they still think that government is this big pot of gold that they can suck money from, not realizing that that's been sucked from their own pockets.
They pay $1 in taxes and they get 30 cents back, and they think that 30 cents back is worth $1.
But that's what they think. They don't realize they're thinking that because they're not doing the math.
There was an argument at the booth in Shawano. Somebody saying, "I'm really happy to pay my taxes because all the good things that are done with my taxes."
That particular person was young and probably doesn't pay taxes.
Yeah.
But even those who pay taxes, that's my point. Even those who pay a lot of taxes, fees, property tax, sales tax, income tax, corporate tax, you name it, they still support candidates who sell them on the idea that government's giving them something that hasn't already been taken from them by force. So, we're going to go to break. You're listening to the Free People Show at freepeopleshow.com. We'll be back in 2 minutes.
Would you like to experience being one of the free people who produce their own meat and eggs? PurelyPoultry.com has the chickens and supplies you need to raise poultry. Would you like pets who produce eggs you can barter with? A swan in your pond to make your home more attractive? How about some pheasants and quail in your woods to shoot or just enjoy? If so, please check out PurelyPoultry.com.
Burger House 41 is open at 1860 West Mason Street in Green Bay. You're invited to indulge in one of life's simplest pleasures, a great burger. They're grilling up 15 fresh signature burgers and have over 30 craft beers for the perfect pairing. That's some nice alliteration. Perfect pairing. Experience Wisconsin's best flavors, including white, cheddar, cheese curds, a variety